So I had an engagement here. It was a decent 3v1. Really, it was a 2v1 that turned into a 1v1 that turned back into a 2v1, and still had 3 aircraft kind of still in there. I was in a 109 G6. It was 2 P-51s and a P-47M. And I had a gentleman here, and you guys can feel free. This is really for this guy named Spamtard. You can go through here and read this kind of stuff. Regardless, Mr. Tard here has very little idea about what he's talking about. So what I've decided is I was going to put together a video. I did. It was about an hour long and went through extreme detail on this video. I'm going to shorten it down quite a bit and essentially talk to you about what happened and throw little snapshots here at Mr. Tard while I'm going through it. But this is more of a what was I doing during this engagement. So we'll just breeze through it here. So I was flying towards another base. The air base is right here. Checking for these opponents that are here in the area. I'm alone. I'm in a 109 G6, I think 75% fuel. I spot a P-51. I start looking to line up for an attack. As we can see currently, he's flying out away from the base underneath me. So what I want to do is wait for him to kind of get out here and then swoop in and make an attack on long 6. If he's asleep, we'll bust him real quick. If he's not, we'll turn it into a fight. So we're currently watching for that opponent. We roll back out. We're staying looking. We're seeing what he's doing. He's seen me. He's rolling actually to the left here. So he's making a left-hand turn, cutting inside, which is smart. You want to try and keep yourself on a turn. That's really your only option. He could have waited, maybe done some other stuff, but this is what he's doing. He's making a left-hand turn. I roll in on him. As I'm rolling in, I notice a P-47. So they're down low. I think I'm at about 12,500 feet at the start of the video. So we roll in, and the P-47 is too far away. 51's right here. One of the comments that Spamtard had made was that the P-47 was harmless. At 5K, yeah, he's fairly harmless, but 850 caliber machine guns in a P-47, regardless of who's flying it, are still fairly dangerous. So that was an incorrect assessment by Mr. Spamtard. Mr. Spamtard's experience was 12 years ago, and he flew Spitfires. And he read, and I use air quotes, read up on some other airplanes. So his understanding of these aircraft and their abilities is lackluster, to say the least. So we continue to make our attack on the P-51. He's making a gradual left-hand turn. We're watching the P-47. He pulls up suddenly. We're diving fairly quickly, 441 indicated. Just a smart move. You can't really pull real hard with the 109 once you get about 475, 500, 525. Controls get real stiff. The P-51 has better high-speed maneuverability than the 109 does once you get up to 450 and above. So he makes a maneuver. I pull for a blind shot. Not sure if I hit him or not. I have no idea. He rolls out the other side. He has no E. I use my E to move up above. P-47 still down low. Not a threat currently. We utilize every little bit of E that we have. We roll over the top. 109 G6 has some. At this point I start talking. We're going to cut that out there. So what we do is we're going to regain some E up here at altitude. We're going to watch and see how these two guys kind of develop. The P-47 is moving kind of towards us. The 51's here going away from us. So we again make another turn. I was expecting a left or right turn, which is typically what happens. This guy ends up split-S-ing. Split-S-ing is not a typical move that you see in Aces High anymore, but it was effective. So here in a moment you'll see him, and he rotates to split-S right there. And so as he does this, what I do is instead of rolling and then rolling out left or right, which would have been smarter, he just pulls straight down, thinking I was moving too fast. I was only doing about 370 indicated, so I wasn't moving fast enough to not be able to shoot. So I push negative. As I come out the other side, I notice, I spotted it, but you can't see it in the videos, that I put an oil hit on him. So he comes out the other side, you'll see that he does have an oil hit, so I put damage on his engine. P-47's at 1.5. I still don't know what kind of P-47 it is, but one of the things Mr. Tard decided to do was completely discount one of the aircraft in the engagement before it was, even what it was. And you don't even know who's flying the P-47. I still don't know who's flying the P-47 because I didn't kill him. I ended up getting a kill on this guy, and I ended up damaging the other P-51 that shows up for the fight. At this point, we've oiled this guy, sent him to the deck, and this P-47's here, but he doesn't have the smash, the E, to get to me. So we just pull out above him and we wait to set up for him. We're not going to chase the P-51 down because there's no sense in doing it. You can't catch him, and you have this P-47 to deal with. So the P-51's turning back into me. The P-47's pulling up slightly. All of a sudden, here comes our third challenger, P-51. I was inside of radar, so here they come. The G6 has two 13 millimeters and one 20 millimeter in the hub. It's got good power to weight, fairly good maneuverability. You got slats, you have flaps that you can do your stall turns and stuff. Again, it's a standard 109. Compresses is about 5 to 525, maybe a little bit more. 475, you got to be careful. So we now know that we're fighting a P-47M. What I didn't realize, what I realize here in just a second, is he actually pulled up, rolled over, and is actually currently inverted and is going to shoot at me from in front. So I avoid that because who wants to take a shot in the face that early from a P-47M? But he's burned all his E. Now we dodge the P-51D. He misses. I don't even know if he shot. We make a quick turn because the P-47 is kind of slow. What we want to do is keep these guys down where we only really have to fight one at a time. Mr. Spamtard said at this point that I should just ignore the P-47 and the other P-51 and just fight the P-51 all by myself, which is physically impossible and kind of asinine. So what we do is we start to pull like we're going to go for the 47, but the 51's back here above us. We don't want to allow him to be above us. So he's burned most of his E to get to here. So we pull up into him because we always want to pull into the attack, and we avoid his deal. And what we're looking to do right now is we're really not looking to make a shot because we don't get shot at ourselves. So once the 51 gets up to a set speed, about 300 miles an hour, so it gets a little harder for them. They are faster at a high-speed maneuver than you would be in a 109, but not so great that he can get the nose really pulled all the way around and make a shot before I've kind of cleared back behind him. So I could go for a shot on the nose, but I would also have a chance of getting shot myself, and there's a chance I could run into him. So it's best to just kind of avoid that. That's what I did in this instance. So what we did was we stayed out from underneath his nose. At this point, we know he can't get his nose to shoot us. So what we want to do is verify that these two aircraft, the P-51 that's smoking and the P-47 that's still down here on the deck. At this point, really what should have happened is one of these three aircraft should be moving away from me, gaining altitude and coming back to attack me. And none of them ever did. One of the things that Mr. Spamtard said was that, I was fighting skilled pilots. I would have to disagree. I think they were average pilots. A skilled pilot, again, it kind of comes down to if they really want to play this kind of game, that's fine, but they didn't have to. These guys are all faster than me and could dictate the fight if they wanted to. They could just fly off and leave, and there's nothing I can do about it. I couldn't chase him and catch him initially. 51 has slow acceleration. You could catch him if he just ran, but if you didn't initially kill him within the first 30 seconds or so, he's going to run off and leave you, and you're not going to catch him. So we continue to pull in on the P-51, not pulling real hard, and we're watching for the other two opponents. We've got this 51 that's still smoking, and we've got the 47 that's still out there. So that 51 just drops the nose and starts heading away. Well, this 47 is the next opponent. So what we do is we pull into him. Well, he's actually inverted again and is coming at us. So we dodge another inverted hoe, and now he's kind of burned his E to get up there to that altitude. So the other 51, the one that was diving for the deck, he pulled up once he saw I wasn't chasing him and got him some altitude. The 47 made a turn right there, burned a lot of his E. The other smoking 51 is still down there. The 47 is still down there. He's going to try and pull back up into us, but he really doesn't have the E to do it. So what I do is I just kind of roll into him, let him burn his E. I gain some E, and the other 51 comes across and also misses. 47 makes some shots as he rolls and runs out of E. Now both of these opponents are below me again. 47's fairly close, 51's pulling back up into me, so we want to avoid the 51. So we pull into the 51, P-47's over here. And I wanted to roll back in on the 47, but the slats popped on the left-hand side, so I kind of snap rolled halfway on the left. So what we do is we pull up. The 47, instead of making a flat turn, actually makes a nose downward kind of pull. And because he can't slow down as quickly as I can, he's actually going to roll out kind of underneath me. So I roll inside of his turn and try to pull underneath him. He's in front of me, and I'm looking for the P-51 at this point. So there, I've detected him. He's at 400. So what I want to do now is force him into an overshoot. One of the other things that Mr. Spamtard said was that I was reversed a couple times. At no point have I been reversed so far during this engagement. A reversal is actually where you're attacking an opponent, and that opponent then pulls a maneuver and gets you to overshoot or suddenly gets behind you in some way or other. That's a reversal. So far, I have not been reversed in this engagement. So what ends up happening is I avoid this P-51 and actually end up reversing him. But I do take a radiator hit. And the radiator hit is actually the reason why I die. These guys actually didn't hit me outside of the radiator hit and a few pings here and there from some other little snapshots. Outside of that, the radiator hit is what actually kills me. So actually, purity-ass luck. So the M-Jug is above me. I'm looking for the 51. I know he's behind me. At this point, what I'm doing is instead of looking backwards, looking for the opponent, it's more important to make sure that the water, because the water will kill you 100% of the time. That guy may only kill you about 10% of the time. So you focus on the water first. Once you've got that under control, then you start looking back. So I've got the P-51's at 200. The 47 thinks I'm going to crash, or for whatever reason he pulls up. So I go in like I'm going to crash. The 51 is too fast. 47 now realizes I'm not down. And so now he's out here underneath me, and the 47's also in a bad spot. So they're both kind of in front of me now. So as I roll through here, here's the 51 at 200. Right now we're kind of almost in a, it wants to stall. The torque is pulling it to the right, and I'm trying to force the aircraft back to the left through, I've got cross control in right now, so I have hard right stick, hard left pedal, and I'm trying to keep the aircraft level so it won't snap off. It won't roll off on the left wing, lose lift on the left side. If I lose lift on the left side, I'm going to snap roll and I'm going to crash in the water and die. We fix this. We don't go into the water. And the 47 ends up being right over top of me, I believe. Or ends up being in front of me here. So the 51 is forced out. Here comes the smoking 51 that's been smoking this entire time. Here's the other 51 coming at me. We saw that 51 was dead stick, the one I finally hit. This here was some partially bad shooting, partially I had hard right pedal in to keep the nose up so that I could continue to slow but also pull myself around through the turn. The 47's on the way here, P-51's on its way here. So P-51 is not a threat, 47 is the threat. We drop our nose until he begins his shooting, meaning that he has to readjust to make his shot. Once he starts shooting, I pull up into him. I'm going to break back into the P-51 because here comes the 47. I drop my nose on the 47. I put a couple rounds, blow an elevator off of him. Now the 51's made a left-hand turn as well. At this point, I'm moving real slow, got everything kind of lined up. I put a radiator hit on him. I was laughing about this because these two guys from the very get-go thought they had this kind of in the bag. And then they didn't. This one guy, the 51 that's smoking, he ends up dead sticking and crashing. I get a kill on him. This guy would have gotten a kill on, and the 47 probably would have had to run if I didn't end up killing him, if I hadn't have gotten a radiator hit. Say la vie. So 51's now hit and in front of me again. So I try to make some more shots on him. 47 tries to make some shots on me. He misses. My engine dies. At this point, I'm too slow to affect a decent crash. So I end up crashing and dying. All in all, a good fight, and really showcased the capabilities of a well-flown 109. So, with that being said, essentially what ended up happening was that this gentleman here decides to come in. He said, here's what it looked like to me. The P-47 is harmless, which it's not. And if you believe that an aircraft in an engagement with you is harmless, you've made a mistake. The P-51 down low had no E to control any of the fight, but he did reverse you at least twice. No, he didn't. He would be at least a bit hard to kill and would take some time to deal with. Not necessarily if you can shoot. You just hit them in the wing root. They go poof. At this point, you should have at least killed the P-47. Well, really the only two shots I had on the P-47 were hose shots until right down there towards the end, almost 3 minutes into the engagement. So no. Then in comes the other 51 with lots of energy, probably more than you. he was moving faster than me, but we were co-altitude, so our E states were fairly similar, which was sad because the 51 should have really had more E and should have dominated that fight when he showed up, but they didn't. Then you start turn fighting all of them and lose all your E. Well, that's how dogfights usually wind up, unless you're just a boom and zoom guy. If that's what you're going to do, then that's fine, but that's not how I fight. Now you're down low with two that have the same E as you and a guy up high with more E than you. So I don't know what fight this guy was watching, but it was a completely different fight than what we just watched, because that's not what happened. If I remember correctly, and this is where he starts really screwing up, you can't really turn fight with the 109 very effectively. Silliest thing I've ever seen. Anyone that's watching this right now is going, what the heck? I think its strength is hard to shoot down as it's kind of bulletproof. Again, another misconception about bulletproof aircraft. This seems to be some kind of craziness that comes up on occasion. If I remember, the P-47 even has more turn ability than the 109. At high speed, yes. At low speed, no. Depending on who's flying it and all sorts of other parameters. I can't remember all the different aspects of the planes. So, I mean, you're making references to things that I don't really remember, but I'm going to make comments anyway. But in this fight, there are at least what looks like 2 skilled enemy pilots out of the 3, and all 3 of them are using their aircraft as should be used. No, really they're not. If they were communicating with one another while I was dealing with one, they could have both moved away from me, outran me, climbed above me, came back and dominated me and won quite easily. And they didn't. They stayed in the engagement at close range, fighting my fight instead of fighting the way that their aircraft should have been fought. When that high P-51 came in, you should have left the fight with the other 2 and dealt with him one-on-one. So the other 2 aircraft, they just pause. They just stop what they're doing, and they just let you fight another guy all on their own. The 47 was continually trying to get up to altitude and shoot at me, and I continued to force him down, and essentially I was playing tag between the 51 and the 47, keeping them both at a reasonable altitude, and for some reason they didn't move away to gain altitude to come back and fight, which was nice of them if that was what they were doing intentionally. If that wasn't, then they were playing poorly, and they should have done that in order to come back and actually win the engagement easily. Let's see. There's something I remember reading years ago for the game, a list of all planes, a very simple, concise summary of strengths and weaknesses of each. If you're using any kind of written documentation to discover how aircraft operate in the game, in my opinion, you're making a big, big, big damn mistake. You need to actually fly the aircraft and see what they will do, or talk to people who fly them all the time. Don't go onto some kind of wiki where it's usually written by someone who doesn't actually fly the aircraft. See, most of these wikis are never actually done by people who have actually utilized those. They just go in and make generalizations based off of stats or any other BS that they find online. I only ever really flew the Spitfire pretty much, but it was good to know about the other planes so you knew how to deal with them. Anyway, we went back and forth, and I essentially called him a retard, to be short. This went back and forth. I said, hey, you need to get some time in the 109s as well as 51s and 47s, make accurate calls on tactics. You're off enough that 3 texts would take too long to explain. That's why this video is going on. Anyway, if you want to read through this silliness, you're more than welcome to. But essentially, here's a good synopsis of what happened in that engagement. And here's a good synopsis of what happens when you think that you know things and you don't actually know anything, and you go making comments on those things without actually consulting people who really do know. One of the things I don't get into, it's one of the things that has drawn people to this channel, is I've never been about the angles and, oh yeah, if you're at +2 the angle of attack, and all the other, just to me, bullshit nuanced business that doesn't actually apply to this game. That's simulator type stuff. And there are guys that use that stuff and they use it effectively. When you change aircraft as many times as I do and fly as much different stuff, you don't become a specialist in any one plane. You become a general pilot in all of them. But being a general pilot in all aircraft means that I'll beat most of the other people that are flying the same airplane because they don't actually understand how the aircraft operates. The other thing is that this is where fights devolve to, is an engagement like that. And if you can fight your way out of an engagement like this on the deck against multiple aircraft, fighting somebody up high, boom and zoom, is easy. Because there's no fear. You don't have to calculate any angles. You don't really have to do a whole lot of work. It takes a lot less work to shoot a guy down straight and level at dead 6 o'clock than it does to go, I need to pitch up, avoid this guy's turn rate, loop back in, not stall, drop throttle, get flaps out, watch my snap, for the slats popping out, and get back into position. Anyhow, long story short, this guy's name is dead on. He throws a lot of crap out there. Not much of it really sticks to anything, and most of it's either just almost hearsay and just random comments that don't make any actual sense. I thought this was a little bit more direct, a little shorter, and got the point across without really just throwing a lot of names out there, because my last video really did have a lot of names dropping in it as far as people making stupid comments, and that's exactly what happened here. Is someone decided to jump in with both feet, and they really don't know what they're talking about. But remember, if you ever have any questions, or you do see something, you go, what the hell is this voodoo? Usually what ends up happening is that you'll spot something and go, yeah, I made a mistake here. I thought I knew it was happening, because usually e-states and things are guesswork. If you spot that kind of stuff, leave comments, or jump in my Discord, ask me a question. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful evening. I'll catch y'all next time.